trapped in every follower is a hidden leader that needs to be released, and you were born to become that leader, but the process is important.
All my security cabinet are believers. They all believe in God.
What did you pray for?
To wisdom, to win the war. I thought at the time that we would have civilian casualties. So we said, we prayed that the civilian casualties would be as low as possible. And we didn't have any civilian casualties.
It's the capacity to evolve transitions with your inherent ability being put to use, while maximizing wisdom and knowledge along the rungs of the ladder of destiny. Hi, my name is Emmanuel Sam. I'm your host on Leadership Today from Israel Leadership Alliance Initiative. Thank you for coming on this broadcast. I hope that at the end you'll be able to have had an experience that is meant to transform and change your life for the better. And so when we talk about the concept of leadership, many people have different variations as to the definition of what leadership is about. But at this point, we need to understand the dire need for leadership, especially with the distractions all around us, from the world wars to propaganda warfare to the war, conventional tech warfare, cyber crimes, and all of that. It's important that once again the concept of leadership is reintroduced as a cardinal subject that will be able to help people to pivot, areas of destiny in these times. The continent of Africa especially has come to a breaking point where leadership cannot be thrown at the rug anymore. It is my belief that leadership should be taught even at the basics of, the foundational dimensions of our institutional frameworks academically, in order to help the young people, the children and generations coming up to be able to understand that society at this time is about bearing burdens. And I repeat, society is about bearing burdens. When I say bearing burdens, what do we mean? People may grow up still feeling that society owes them something. But at this point, it's important that truth hits the core of our belief systems to understand that society, organizations, communities, and nations owe no one anything. At this point, everybody has to find a way to chart the trajectory of their life such that it's going to bring about an experience that will lead to, societal transformation and otherwise. And so today, I'd like to just give some holistic definitions to leadership. We have done several podcasts in the past, and right now, I want to give another definition to leadership. So what is leadership? Leadership is the ability to evolve several seasons and transitions of life with the intent to maximize personal value while becoming a source of inspiration and a role model for the contemporary time as well as subsequent generations. Yes, that's what leadership is. It's the capacity to evolve transitions with your inherent ability being put to use, while maximizing wisdom and knowledge along the rungs of the ladder of destiny. It's important that people begin to redefine leadership from within the context of finding what is within you, effectively utilizing same for crafting, trajectories that will make people begin to see light in a gloomy climate societally. And right now, you can see upheavals. Nations are churning out, several expressions that depict lack of hope, that depict lack of faith, that depict, a lack of sense of vision. People don't even talk about vision anymore because right now it seems as if all that matters is how people can survive. But you see, where there is no vision, a people perish. And so that's a principle. There are certain principles that are fundamental to our corporate coexistence and even thriving beyond surviving. beyond survival. And so people must come back to the context of visionary thinking, which is birthed from the place of self discovery. Now, that takes us back to leadership. People must come back to the place of a commitment to a sense of beliefs that are founded on philosophical backgrounds that don't have variations. In other words, people must come back to the place of being fixed on truth so that the principles that undergird their growth processes can be guaranteed to give them the outcome that is desired at the end of the day. And so, when we begin to talk about the concept of leadership, we begin to talk about values, we begin to talk about, principled living, we begin to talk about beliefs, but more importantly, the source of our beliefs. We begin to talk about thought concepts, we talk about thought contents, we talk about thought crafts, we talk about paradigm orientations, we talk about perspective recalibrations. There are several components that come in here. These are abstract realities that actually inform the foundational basis of our convictions. And so I believe that at this point in time, we must go beyond the preliminaries. We must go deep into the subject of leadership. Recently I discovered that when people talk about leadership, they tend to bring business in. And so somehow people seem to want to fuse the concept of money making or economic indices into the subject of leadership. Now, while the economy, the subject of the economy is cardinal to our survival sustenance as individuals, as families, as communities, and even as nations, we must understand that the place of leadership in its distinct self, which has to do with the capacity to uphold certain convictions at the expense of everything else, that is foundational before we begin to talk about, things like, economic value, and several other component factors that come to spice up, that reality called leadership. I like to tell us a story. I like to tell us a story before we wrap this up. Once upon a time, a young man was so confused with his life, and he came from a very poor background, and the future was so bleak that he hadn't any sense of value for self. He hadn't discerned if he had any potential within him. Matter of fact, he was called the black sheep of the society, and he was treated like an outcast. It took just a message. And what was this message? You can never know who you truly are until you make the decision to discover who you truly are as the foundational thought orientation of your daily existence. In other words, the message that hit him and set him on a leadership journey that shifted him from the place of a nonentity, from a place of having no sense of the future, to becoming one who was so certain about the future that he began to be a source of inspiration to subsequent generations, was the fact that he committed to a lifestyle of self-discovery daily. In other words, yesterday is past, today you are a different person. And every day that breaks, you begin to see yourself as a different person. And you commit to the cause of discovering that new person more than any other thing, more than your commitment to your academic studies, more than your commitment to financial remunerations and money-making ventures, more than your commitment to building social circles, more than your commitment to social affiliations and even professional endeavors. The discovery of self is pivotal to understanding how the ecosystems of life create balance for you as you begin to grow wings and soar, on the clouds of destiny. This young man has become a source of inspiration to many today. And this young man has made subsequent strides by reason of this discovery. And so I want to encourage everyone who seems to not understand what the concept of leadership is about. The most important thing is about discovering the new you daily. People will say self-discovery, but I say discover the new you daily, because the capacity to discover your evolving self gives you an edge in maximizing the transitions of life. And I repeat that. The capacity to discover your unique evolving self gives you an edge in maximizing the transitions of life. And this is something that will make you to always be on the advantage and not on the disadvantage. And so I hope that, you've been able to learn something today. In our subsequent broadcast, we're going to expand more on what the concept of leadership is about, beginning from self-leadership, which is always the foundation. Self-leadership is always the foundation. And then we begin to talk about organizational leadership and otherwise. Until next time, thank you very much.
Thank you for watching this broadcast. Follow our social media handles at Misra Leadership Alliance Initiative, or visit our website at misraleadership.com.